Marcus punched the hood of the truck so hard that it startled his daughter and he yelled, "Get out of my house!" The two women on his porch didn't flinch. The taller one stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Make us," she said, and Marcus saw her hand move to something behind her back, a hammer, a pipe he couldn't tell. His last $15,000 had bought him this rotting farmhouse, and now strangers were living in it, refusing to leave. Emma was crying in the truck. He had no money, no options, no plan. And the blonde woman's hand was still reaching for that weapon. I said, "Get out." No. What happened next changed everything. Tell me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories go. Marcus lunged for the porch steps. "Dad, no!" Emma's scream cut through the cold air. The taller woman, Sage, yanked a crowbar from her belt. "Don't!" Marcus froze halfway up the steps, chest heaving. "That's my house. I bought it. I have the deed in my truck. You're trespassing." "We've been here 5 weeks," Sage said, gripping the crowbar tighter. "We have squatters' rights." "Squatters' rights?" Marcus's voice cracked. "That's bullshit. This is my property." "Dad?" Emma stumbled out of the truck, her legs unsteady. She'd only been out of the hospital 3 days. "Dad, please." "Get back in the truck, Emma." "No." Emma's face was flushed, tears streaming. "I can't do this anymore. I can't sleep in the truck again. I can't." She swayed, and the second woman, River, moved without thinking, jumping off the porch to catch Emma before she collapsed. "Let go of my daughter." Marcus rushed forward. "She's passing out." River lowered Emma to the ground, cradling her head. "When did she last eat?" Marcus stopped. "This morning, I think. She had—" "You think?" River looked up at him, and her eyes were fire. "You don't know when your kid last ate. We've been driving for 5 hours. She's burning up." River pressed a hand to Emma's forehead. "She has a fever." The world tilted. Marcus dropped to his knees beside them. "Emma, baby, can you hear me?" Emma's eyes fluttered open. "I'm okay. Just dizzy. She needs food and water, now." River looked up at Sage. "Help me get her inside." "River." "Now, Sage." Sage hesitated, then dropped the crowbar and came down the steps. Together the twins lifted Emma, and Marcus found himself following them into his house, watching strangers carry his daughter like he was the intruder here. Inside, River settled Emma on a worn couch near the fire. Sage grabbed a blanket. Marcus stood there useless, his hands shaking. "When was her last treatment?" River asked, not looking at him. 2 weeks ago." "And her next one?" "We can't afford it." The words tasted like ash. "The insurance lapsed. I'm trying to get on a payment plan with the hospital, but she has leukemia." It wasn't a question. River was studying Emma's face, the hollows under her eyes, the translucent quality of her skin. "All or AML? How do you—" "Answer the question." "All. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. She was in remission, but it came back 3 months ago. The second-line treatment is experimental. Insurance won't cover it. It costs—" His voice broke. "It costs everything." Sage returned with a glass of water and what looked like soup in a mug. "It's canned, but it's warm." Emma took the mug with trembling hands. "Thank you." "Sip it slowly," River said gently, her tone completely different than when she'd spoken to Marcus. "Your stomach's probably empty. Too fast and you'll throw up." Emma nodded and sipped. Color was already returning to her face from the warmth of the fire. Marcus wanted to grab his daughter and run. Wanted to call the police. Wanted to scream at these women for being in his house, for making him feel like the bad guy for touching his daughter without permission. Instead, he stood there watching River tuck the blanket around Emma's legs, watching Sage add another log to the fire. watching these strangers care for his child, better than he'd been able to in weeks. "Sit down," Sage said, not unkindly. "You look like you're about to fall over." "I'm fine." "You're not." River stood up facing him. In the firelight, Marcus could see she was younger than he'd thought. Mid-20s maybe. Too young to have eyes that hard. "When did you last eat?" "That's none of your yesterday," Emma said quietly. "He gave me his sandwich at lunch yesterday and said he wasn't hungry. But I know he was lying." Silence. Sage went to a cooler in the corner and pulled out another container of soup. She heated it over the fire using a camping stove Marcus only now noticed. When it was ready, she handed it to him. "Eat." "I don't need your charity." "It's not charity. You can't take care of your kid if you pass out from hunger." Sage's voice was flat. "Eat the damn soup." Marcus took it because she was right and because he was so tired of pretending he wasn't falling apart. The soup was chicken noodle basic, but it was warm, and his hand stopped shaking after the first few bites. "Thank you," he said quietly. Sage nodded and sat down across from him. River stayed near Emma, who was slowly working through her own soup. "So," River said after a long moment, "you really bought this place?" "I really did. Sight unseen. I told you I was desperate. The bank foreclosed on our house in Seattle. I lost my contracting business when I couldn't work anymore. Everything went to medical bills. This farmhouse was the only thing I could afford, and I thought—" He laughed bitterly. "I thought I could fix it up, flip it, make enough money to get Emma into treatment. I'm a contractor. Was a contractor. 20 years of residential restoration. This should have been easy." "Nothing about this place is easy," Sage said. "The foundation has cracks. The plumbing is shot. Half the electrical is fire hazard level bad. The roof leaks in 4 places. It's a disaster." "Then why are you here?" "Because disasters are all we could afford too." River stood up, moved to the window, looked out at the dark. "Our mom died 14 months ago. Workplace accident at the fish processing plant. Conveyor belt malfunction. She got caught in the machinery." Her voice was clinical, detached. "She survived long enough to rack up $300,000 in medical bills. Then she died anyway. The company blamed her, said she violated safety protocols, fought the insurance claim. We fought back, spent everything we had on lawyers, lost anyway. We had to sell our childhood home to pay the debt," Sage continued. "Lost our car, lost everything. River had a job lined up in Portland. I had an engineering position in Seattle. We turned them both down to stay here to fight for Mom. And we lost. 3 months ago, we were living in our car," River said. "Then the car died. We've been sleeping in shelters on friends' couches in our car before it gave out. Then someone mentioned this place, said it had been abandoned for years. No owners, no one who cared. We thought we had time," Sage finished. "Time to save money. Time to figure out what comes next. We've been here 5 weeks, working our asses off to make it livable. River got a job at Miller's Diner in town. I've been doing day labor, construction, roofing, whatever I can find. Every dollar goes to food and supplies for this place. We were going to stay through winter, save up enough for first and last month's rent somewhere, then move on. We weren't trying to screw anyone over. We just needed to survive." Emma had finished her soup and was watching the twins with wide eyes. "You have engineering degrees." "One engineering, one business," River said. "Fat lot of good they did us." "That's not true," Emma said firmly. "Dad always says education is never wasted. You just haven't found the right use for it yet." River smiled despite herself. "Smart kid. She gets it from her mom." Marcus set down his empty mug. "Sarah was the smart one, the planner. I was just the guy who knew how to fix things. She managed the business, handled the books, dealt with clients. When she got sick," he had to stop, breathe. "When she got sick, everything fell apart. I couldn't run the business and take care of her at the same time. Then she died, and I couldn't function at all. lost clients, missed deadlines. The business collapsed. 6 months later, Emma got sick, and it was like watching Sarah die all over again. Except this time, I had a chance to save her. This time, I could fix it if I just had enough money. But you don't have enough money, Sage said gently. No. The word was hollow. I don't. They sat in silence, the fire crackling, Emma warm and fed and falling asleep on the couch. Marcus watched his daughter's face relax, saw the tension leave her body for the first time in weeks. Finally, River spoke. What do you want to do? What do you mean, about this? She gestured around the room. About us being here. You could call the cops. Have us arrested. We'd fight it. Squatters' rights are real in Oregon if you can prove continuous residence, but you'd probably win eventually. Then what? You and Emma move in here alone. Try to fix this place by yourself while taking care of a sick kid. How long before something goes wrong? Before the house burns down because you don't know the chimney needed clearing? Before the roof caves in because you're too exhausted to patch it properly? Before Emma ends up back in the hospital because you're spread so thin you can't take care of her? What's your point? My point is, we're good at this. Sage leaned forward. River and I have kept this place from falling apart for 5 weeks. We fixed the chimney, patched the roof, sealed the windows, made it livable. And I have an engineering degree. I actually know what I'm doing. You said you're a contractor. You know restoration. Between the 3 of us, we could fix this place properly, fast. Marcus stared at her. You want to stay? We want to propose a deal, River said. You let us stay. We help you fix the house. No rent, no pay, just labor for lodging. When the house is done and you sell it, we walk away. Clean break. Everyone gets what they need. That's insane. Why? Because I don't know you. Because you broke into my property. Because you're scared, Sage said quietly. Same as us. You're scared that if you trust the wrong people, you'll lose what little you have left. But Marcus, look around. What do you have to lose? The question hung in the air. Marcus looked at Emma asleep on the couch, looked at the fire warm and safe that these women had built, looked at his own hands calloused and scarred from years of construction work, shaking now from exhaustion and hunger and fear. I need to think about it, he said finally. That's fair. River stood up. You and Emma can have the bedroom upstairs. We cleared it out, put in a space heater. It's the warmest room in the house. Sage and I will sleep down here tonight. You take the night, think it over, and we'll talk in the morning. Just like that. Just like that. River looked at him steadily. We're not monsters, Marcus. We're just people who got dealt a shit hand same as you. We can fight each other over this house, or we can work together and maybe all come out ahead. Your choice. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to protest. But Emma was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks, and he was so damn tired, and these 2 women were looking at him with something that might have been hope. Okay, he heard himself say. Okay, we'll talk in the morning. Sage helped him carry Emma upstairs. The bedroom was small but clean, with a real bed covered in blankets and a space heater humming in the corner. Marcus laid Emma down, gently pulled the blankets up to her chin. She didn't wake. Thank you, he said to Sage. For catching her. For the food. For this. Sage nodded. She's a good kid. Reminds me of River at that age. Smart, brave, trying to hold everything together. She shouldn't have to. None of us should have to. But here we are. Sage moved to the door, paused. For what it's worth, I meant what I said. About the deal. River and I were good workers. We won't let you down. How do I know that? You don't. That's what trust is. She smiled grimly. But we've got just as much to lose as you do, maybe more. At least you own this place legally. We're 1 phone call away from jail. She left, and Marcus sat on the edge of the bed watching Emma sleep. His daughter. His beautiful, brilliant, dying daughter who deserved so much better than a father who couldn't even feed her consistently. He thought about River's question. What do you have to lose? Everything. Nothing. He wasn't sure which answer was true anymore. Downstairs, he heard the twins moving around, their voices low, preparing to sleep on the floor of the living room while he and Emma took the warm bedroom. Squatters who'd broken into his house, who could have run when he showed up, who could have fought him harder. Instead, they'd fed his daughter, caught her when she fell, offered a partnership that was either the smartest or stupidest thing he'd ever heard. Marcus looked around the bedroom, saw the work they'd done, the sealed windows, the swept floor, the makeshift curtains. Saw evidence of care, of attention, of two women trying to build something from nothing, just like him. He thought about Sarah, about what she would have said. She'd always been better at reading people, at knowing who to trust. Follow your gut, she used to tell him. Your gut's usually right. His gut said these women were telling the truth. His gut said they needed each other. His gut said this crazy plan might actually work. Or it might blow up in his face and leave him with even less than he'd started with. Marcus looked at his daughter one more time, then made a decision he'd either regret forever or thank God for making. He went downstairs. River and Sage were spreading blankets on the floor near the fire. They looked up when he appeared, surprise on their faces. "Okay," Marcus said. "We do this. But there are rules." The twins stood up. "We're listening." "1, no lies, ever. About anything. If something breaks, if money's missing, if there's a problem, we talk about it. No hiding things." "Agreed," River said. 2. We all pull our weight. I don't care about your degrees or your experience. If there's work to be done, we all do it. No one gets a pass." "Obviously," Sage said. 3. Emma comes first. Always. Her medical care, her needs, her safety, that's the priority. If we have to choose between finishing the house and taking care of my daughter, Emma wins, every time. "We wouldn't have it any other way," River said quietly. Marcus took a breath. "And 4. When this is done, when the house sells, we split the profit. 3 ways. Equal shares." Both twins stared at him. "What?" Sage breathed. "You heard me. You put in the work, you get a share. That's only fair." "Marcus, that's your money. Your house. It's our house if we're doing this together. Our work. Our risk." He held out his hand. "Partners." River looked at Sage. Some wordless communication passed between them. Then they both stepped forward, and all 3 of them shook hands over the deal that would either save them or destroy them. Marcus woke to the sound of hammering. For a confused moment, he thought he was back in Seattle, back in his old workshop, back when Sarah was alive and everything made sense. Then Emma shifted beside him in the narrow bed and reality crashed back. The farmhouse, the twins, the insane deal he'd made at midnight. The hammering continued, rhythmic and purposeful. Marcus checked his watch, 6:30 in the morning. He eased out of bed without waking Emma and went downstairs. Sage was on the porch, crowbar in hand, prying up rotted boards. River stood nearby with a notepad, writing something down. They both looked up when Marcus stepped outside. "Morning," River said. "Coffee's inside if you want it." "You're starting already." "Daylight's burning." Sage didn't stop working. "We've got maybe 8 weeks before serious winter hits. After that, outdoor work becomes hell. We need to prioritize structural integrity first, then move to interior systems." Marcus rubbed his face. "I haven't even assessed the damage yet." "I have." Sage yanked another board free. 5 weeks living here, remember, I know every leak, every crack, every problem." River's making a list by priority. Roof first, then foundation repair, then plumbing and electrical. We can do cosmetic work last. "Sage, slow down. We need to work." Sage finally stopped and looked at him. "Look, I get that you're used to being in charge. But I'm not one of your employees. I'm your partner now. And as your partner, I'm telling you this house needs immediate attention or it won't survive the winter. So either help or get out of my way." Marcus felt anger flare. "Excuse me," River stepped between them. What Sage means is we're all anxious to get started. Maybe we can do a walkthrough together. You assess with your contractor's eye, Sage with her engineering background. Combine our expertise. Fine. Marcus forced himself to breathe. But first, coffee. Inside, Emma was awake, sitting at the makeshift table with a mug of hot chocolate. She looked better than she had in days, color in her cheeks, eyes brighter. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, baby. How'd you sleep?" "Really good. The bed's comfortable." She sipped her chocolate. "River made this for me. She says she used to make it for her mom when she was sick." Marcus's throat tightened. He poured himself coffee, noticed it was strong and hot, noticed someone had put out bread and butter, noticed these women were feeding his daughter breakfast while he'd been unconscious upstairs. "Thank you," he said to River. "It's just hot chocolate." "You know what I mean." River met his eyes. "Yeah, I do." They did the walkthrough after breakfast. Marcus tried to stay objective, tried to see the house as just another job, but every cracked board and leaking pipe felt personal. This was supposed to be their salvation. Instead, it was a money pit. "The foundation has settlement issues on the north side," Sage said, crouching in the crawl space. "See how the floor joists are sagging? We need to jack this up. Pour new footings reinforce the structure." "That's at least 5,000 in materials," Marcus said. "Or 2,000 if we source reclaimed concrete and do the labor ourselves." Sage crawled out, dust in her hair. "There's a demolition site in Millbrook. I talked to the foreman last week. He'll let us haul away broken concrete for free if we do it ourselves." Marcus stared at her. "You already have connections." "I've been doing day labor for a month. You meet people." Sage brushed off her pants. "The foreman, Jerry, he's got a salvage yard too. Sells used building materials. I've been buying supplies from him. He likes me because I actually know what I'm talking about when I need lumber or hardware." "She got us a 30% discount," River added. "Sage knows how to work people." "I know how to do my job," Sage corrected. "Which right now is fixing this house." They moved to the roof. Marcus climbed up the ladder, Sage right behind him. The damage was worse than he'd expected. The tarp Sage had mentioned covered maybe a quarter of the problem areas. "Jesus," Marcus breathed. "Yeah." Sage walked carefully across the old shingles. "We need a complete re-roof. I priced it out. New shingles would cost about $8,000, but if we go with metal roofing from Jerry's salvage yard, we can do it for $3,000. Metal lasts longer anyway." "Metal roofing is specialized work. I've installed it before. Summer job during college working for a roofing company." Sage knelt down, ran her hand over the damaged section. "It's not that complicated if you know what you're doing. And I do." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to assert his authority, wanted to prove he wasn't completely useless. But Sage was right. She knew what she was doing, and they didn't have $8,000 for new shingles. "Okay," he said. "Metal roof, but I'm helping." "Obviously." Sage almost smiled. "You think I want to haul sheets of metal roofing by myself?" They spent the rest of the morning making lists, calculating costs, arguing about priorities. Emma sat in the living room with River helping organize receipts and expenses. Marcus could hear their conversation drifting up from downstairs. "So you were really sleeping in your car?" Emma asked. "For about 6 weeks," River said. "Before that we were couch surfing, staying with friends until they got tired of us." "That sounds scary." It was, especially at night. You never feel safe when you don't have a real home. "I know," Emma said quietly. "We stayed in a motel for a while, but Dad ran out of money. Then we slept in the truck. I pretended it was camping, but it wasn't really. It was just sad." "Oh, sweetie." River's voice went soft. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." "It's okay. Dad's trying really hard. He sold almost everything we had to pay for my treatment. Even Mom's wedding ring." Emma's voice wavered. "He didn't think I knew, but I saw him crying in the bathroom after he came back from the pawn shop." Marcus closed his eyes. He'd thought Emma was asleep that night, thought she hadn't seen. "Your dad loves you very much," River said. "Sometimes love means making impossible choices. Do you think my mom would be mad at him for selling her ring? No, honey. I think your mom would be grateful he loves you enough to do whatever it takes to save you." Marcus had to walk away. He went outside, stood on the porch, breathed the cold air until his eyes stopped burning. Sage found him there a few minutes later. "You okay?" "No." The word came out rough. "I'm not okay. I'm failing her. Emma shouldn't be living like this. She should be in a real house with real food and consistent medical care. Instead, she's in a condemned farmhouse with strangers sleeping on a mattress we found in the barn. That mattress is clean. River scrubbed it 3 times. That's not the point. Then what is the point?" Sage leaned against the porch railing. "That you're not a perfect father, join the club. Nobody is. But you're here. You're fighting. You made a deal with 2 homeless women because you knew you couldn't do this alone. That takes guts. That takes humility. Your daughter knows you love her. Trust me, that matters more than you think." Marcus looked at her. "How old are you?" 25. "You sound older. Trauma ages you." Sage's smile was bitter. "Our mom died scared and alone in a hospital bed while River and I were in a courtroom fighting the company's lawyers. We weren't there to hold her hand. Weren't there to tell her we loved her one last time. You think I don't know about regret, about failing the people you love? Sage, we can't change the past. We can only show up for the present. So stop punishing yourself and help me figure out the electrical situation, because that's going to be a nightmare." They worked until dark. Marcus forgot to eat lunch until River brought sandwiches out to the porch where he and Sage were cataloging structural damage. Emma helped River sort through salvaged materials in the barn, organizing everything by type and size. "You're good at this," River told Emma. "I like organizing. It makes me feel like things are under control." "I get that." River handed her another box of screws. "When everything else is chaos, creating order in one small area helps." "Is that why you keep making lists?" River laughed. "Yeah, it's why I make lists." They ate dinner together around the fire. River had made soup from canned vegetables and dried beans, stretching their supplies. It was basic but filling, and Marcus found himself eating seconds. "This is good," he said. "It's poverty food," River replied. "But I've gotten creative with it. You can make almost anything taste decent if you have the right spices." "Where'd you learn to cook?" "Mom. She worked 2 jobs most of our lives, but she always made sure we had home-cooked meals. Said it was important that sitting down together for dinner was family time." River's voice went distant. "Even when she was exhausted, even when she could barely stand, she'd cook for us. I learned by watching her." "Our mom was amazing," Sage said quietly. "She gave up everything for us, made sure we went to college, made sure we had opportunities she never had, and we couldn't save her." Emma reached across and took Sage's hand. "It's not your fault." "Feels like it is." "My mom died too," Emma said. "Pancreatic cancer. She was sick for 8 months. At first the doctors said she might beat it, but then it spread. Toward the end she couldn't even get out of bed. I was 10. I didn't understand why she was leaving us." Tears rolled down Emma's cheeks. "I was mad at her. I actually got mad at my mom for dying. How terrible is that?" "That's not terrible," River said fiercely. "That's grief. That's being a kid who lost her mother. You're allowed to feel angry." "But I never apologized. She died, and I never told her I was sorry for being mad." Marcus pulled Emma close. "Baby mom knew you loved her. She understood. She was never angry at you." "How do you know?" "Because I know how much she loved you, and when you love someone that much you forgive them everything." They sat in silence, 4 people bound together by loss and desperation, and the fragile hope that maybe somehow they could build something better from the rubble of their old lives. The next morning they started for real. Marcus and Sage drove to Jerry's salvage yard in the truck, while River stayed with Emma. The salvage yard was exactly what Marcus expected: acres of reclaimed materials, rusted equipment, and a grizzled old man who looked like he'd been born holding a wrench. "This the contractor?" Jerry asked Sage. "Marcus Chen, Marcus Jerry Patterson." They shook hands. Jerry's grip was iron. "Sage says you're fixing up the old Morrison place." "Trying to. That house is a disaster. Been sitting empty for what, 5 years? 6. Something like that. You got your work cut out for you." Jerry led them through rows of materials. "But Sage here's been smart about it, buying what she needs, not what she wants. That's rare. Most people come in here thinking they'll build a palace on a shoestring. Sage knows better." "She's been helpful," Marcus admitted. "She's more than helpful. Girl's got a good head on her shoulders." Jerry stopped at a stack of metal roofing. "This what you need." Sage ran her hand over the panels. "Color's wrong, but for the price I can't complain. We'll make it work. I'll give you the contractor discount, 20% off. Jerry, you already gave me 30. So now it's 50 total. Consider it an investment in seeing that house brought back to life. I grew up near there. Hate seeing good bones go to waste." Marcus felt something ease in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just do good work. And bring Sage back. I like having someone around who actually knows what a joist hanger is." They loaded the truck with roofing panels, lumber bags of concrete mix. Jerry threw in extra supplies: a box of nails, some copper wire, a bundle of PVC pipe. "For the plumbing," Jerry said. "You'll need it." On the drive back, Sage was quiet. Finally, Marcus said, "He likes you." "Jerry's a good guy. He gave me work when I was sleeping in my car. Let me use his bathroom to clean up before job interviews. Didn't judge me for being homeless." There are good people in the world. Some. Sage looked out the window. But there are also people who see someone down and kick them harder. We met plenty of those too. Like who? Like the landlord who evicted us from Mom's house before she was even buried. Like the collection agency that called River's phone 15 times a day threatening legal action. Like the shelter director who said we were taking up space that could go to real homeless people, because we were young and educated and should be able to figure it out. Sage's voice was hard. People love to help when it's convenient, when it makes them feel good. But actually sitting with someone in their mess, that's rare. Marcus thought about that. "Is that why you were so defensive yesterday, when I showed up?" "Yeah. We've been burned before. People making promises they don't keep. Places that seem safe until suddenly they're not. When you said you owned the house, I thought—" She trailed off. "You thought I'd throw you out. Wouldn't you have? In my position. 2 strangers squatting in a property you bought with your last dollar." Marcus drove in silence for a moment. "Honestly, I don't know. Before yesterday, maybe. But seeing Emma collapse, seeing you and River catch her, take care of her—" He shook his head. "You could have run. Could have told me to screw off and disappeared. But you stayed. You helped. That means something. We didn't have anywhere else to go. You had the choice to be cruel or kind. You chose kind. That's not nothing, Sage." She didn't respond, but Marcus saw her swipe at her eyes. Back at the house, River and Emma had made progress on the interior. They'd cleared out years of accumulated junk from the bedrooms upstairs, swept and scrubbed until the floors were visible. "Look, Dad." Emma was filthy and beaming. "We found actual hardwood under all the dirt. River says if we sand it and refinish it, it'll be beautiful." "That's a lot of work, Em." "I don't care. I want to help. I want this to be our house, not just some place we're staying." Our house. The words hit Marcus hard. Emma hadn't called anywhere our house since Seattle, since before Sarah died. "Okay," he said, throat tight. "Then we'll refinish the floors." They worked until their hands bled. Marcus had forgotten what it was like to pour everything into a project, to feel his muscles burn and his back ache, and know he was building something real. Sage was relentless, working 12-hour days without complaint. River managed their meager finances like a general, deploying troops, making every dollar stretch impossibly far. Emma helped where she could, running tools, holding boards, sweeping up debris. By the end of the first week, they'd replaced the worst sections of the porch, patched the roof temporarily, and started work on the foundation. By the end of the second week, they'd finished the foundation repair and begun rewiring the electrical system. "This is insane," Marcus said one night, too exhausted to move from where he'd collapsed on the porch. "We're actually doing it." "Did you doubt we would?" Sage asked. "Yes, completely. Ye of little faith." But Sage was smiling, and Marcus realized he'd never seen her smile before. It changed her whole face, made her look young and alive instead of hardened and wary. River brought out mugs of tea. They'd run out of coffee 2 days ago and were rationing what little they had left. "We need to talk about money." "How bad is it?" Marcus asked. "We've got maybe $800 left. That'll cover food and basic supplies for another 2 weeks if we're careful. After that..." River shrugged. "After that, we're in trouble." "I can pick up more shifts at the diner," River said. "And there's that roofing job Jerry mentioned. It's 3 days' work, pays $600. "I'll take it," Marcus said immediately. "It's hard labor. Tear-off and replacement on a commercial building. I've been roofing for 20 years. I can handle it." "We'll both do it," Sage said. "Split the work, split the pay. River and Emma can hold down the fort here." They left at dawn 2 days later. The job was brutal, stripping old shingles in the freezing wind, installing new ones with numb fingers. But the crew boss liked Marcus's experience and Sage's precision. At the end of 3 days, he paid them $600 in cash and offered them another job next week. "We could use people like you," he said. "Most of my crew is unreliable. You two show up, work hard, know your stuff. I've got steady work if you want it." Marcus and Sage looked at each other. More work meant more money, but it also meant less time on the farmhouse. "We'll think about it," Marcus said. On the drive home, Sage said, "We should take it." "We can't. We need to finish the house. We need money more. What good is the house if we can't afford to eat?" She was right, and Marcus hated it. They were trapped in the same cycle, needing money to finish the house. Needing to finish the house to get money. No way forward without sacrificing something. When they got back, Emma met them at the door. Her face was flushed, eyes too bright. Marcus's stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I'm fine, just tired." But she swayed as she said it, and River caught her. "She's been running a fever all day," River said quietly. "I gave her Tylenol, but it's not helping much." Marcus lifted Emma into his arms. She was burning up. "We need to get her to a hospital." "Dad, no. We can't afford—" "I don't care what we can afford. You're sick." "It's just a fever. It'll pass." "Emma." "Please, Dad." Emma's eyes were pleading. "Please don't make me go. Not yet. Just let me rest. If I'm not better tomorrow, we'll go. I promise." Marcus looked at River and Sage, desperate. River's face was grim. "It might just be a virus," River said carefully. "Sometimes fevers spike with regular colds. But if she's not better by morning, or if she gets worse tonight, we take her in immediately. No arguments." Marcus carried Emma upstairs. She fell asleep almost instantly, her body limp with exhaustion. He sat beside her bed, watching her breathe, counting every inhale and exhale, like he had when she was a baby. Sage appeared in the doorway with blankets. "You should sleep." "I can't." "Then I'll stay with you." She set up a makeshift bed on the floor. "River's downstairs if we need her. She was pre-med before she switched to business. She knows what to watch for." She was pre-med. For 2 years. Then our mom got sick, and River decided she couldn't handle medical school while caring for her. Switched to business so she could graduate faster, start working, help with bills. Sage settled onto the floor. "She's never said it, but I think she regrets giving up medicine. She would have been good at it." "She's good at everything." "Yeah," Sage smiled slightly. "River's the responsible twin. The one who thinks things through. I'm the impulsive one who acts first and apologizes later. I noticed. They sat in silence watching Emma sleep. Finally, Sage said, "She's going to be okay. Kids are resilient." "You don't know that." "No, but I choose to believe it anyway, because the alternative is unacceptable." Marcus looked at her, this young woman who'd lost her mother, who'd been homeless and desperate, who'd fought her way into his house and his life, and somehow become essential to both. "Thank you," he said, "for being here, for helping. Thank you for letting us stay." Sage closed her eyes. "For seeing us as people instead of problems." Emma's fever broke just before dawn. Marcus woke to find her sitting up, color back in her cheeks, asking for breakfast. The relief was so intense, he had to leave the room before she saw him cry. Downstairs, River was making oatmeal. "She's better." "Yeah." Marcus's voice cracked. "She's better." River set down the spoon and hugged him. Just like that, no hesitation, no awkwardness. Marcus stood there frozen, and then his arms came up and he hugged her back. This woman he barely knew, who felt like family anyway. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair. "Thank you for taking care of her." "Always," River said. "For as long as you'll let me." They fell into a rhythm after that. Marcus and Sage took the roofing jobs when they came brutal work that paid in cash and left them too exhausted to think. River worked at the diner 4 days a week, coming home with tips and leftover food the cook let her take. Emma helped where she could, organizing supplies, holding tools, sweeping debris, never complaining, even when Marcus could see the exhaustion in her face. 3 weeks and the metal roof was finished. Marcus stood in the yard at dusk, looking up at the silver panels gleaming in the fading light, and felt something close to pride. "Not bad," Sage said beside him. She had a cut on her forehead from where a sheet of metal had slipped, catching her off guard. She'd barely flinched when it happened, just wrapped it and kept working. "You should get that looked at." "It's fine." "Sage, I said it's fine." Her voice was sharp. "We don't have money for a doctor visit over a scratch." "It's more than a scratch." "Then it's a big scratch. Let it go, Marcus." He wanted to argue, but Emma called from the porch. "Dad, River says dinner's ready." Inside, River had worked another miracle with their dwindling supplies. Pasta with canned tomatoes and herbs she'd found growing wild behind the barn. It smelled incredible. "Where'd you learn to forage?" Marcus asked. "Mom taught us. She grew up poor, knew how to find food where other people saw weeds, wild onions, dandelion greens, blackberries in summer." River drained the pasta. "She used to say the earth provides if you know how to look." "She sounds like she was a remarkable woman," Emma said. "She was." River's hands stilled on the pot. "She was everything." Sage reached over and squeezed her sister's hand. They stayed like that for a moment, twin to twin, sharing some wordless communication Marcus couldn't decode. They ate in silence, broken only by the scrape of forks on plates. Marcus watched his makeshift family, these 3 people he'd known for less than a month, who'd somehow become essential. Emma was laughing at something Sage said. River was smiling into her pasta. The fire crackled warm behind them. This is what Sarah wanted, Marcus thought. For Emma to be happy, to be safe, to have people who care. The thought didn't hurt as much as it used to. "I got a letter today," River said abruptly. "From the collection agency. They're threatening to garnish my wages at the diner." The fragile piece shattered. "Can they do that?" Marcus asked. "They can try. I don't know if they'll succeed, but they can try." "How much do you owe?" River's laugh was hollow. "More than I'll ever be able to pay. The medical bills alone were $300,000. Then there are the legal fees from fighting the insurance company. We lost our house, lost everything, and they still want more." "That's not fair," Emma said fiercely. "Your mom died. They should leave you alone." "Should and will are different things, sweetheart." River stood up, started clearing plates. Her movements were jerky, angry. Debt doesn't care about fair. Sage pushed back from the table. I'm going to bed. Sage, wait. But Sage was already gone. Footsteps heavy on the stairs. River closed her eyes. She takes it harder than I do, River said quietly. The guilt. She thinks if she'd been a better engineer, she could have identified the machinery problem before Mom's accident. If she'd been a better daughter, she could have saved her somehow. It's irrational, but she believes it anyway. And you? Marcus asked. What do you believe? I believe we did everything we could, and it wasn't enough. I believe the system is designed to crush people like us. I believe... Her voice cracked. I believe I'm tired of fighting. Emma slipped her hand into River's. You don't have to fight alone anymore. You have us. River looked down at Emma, and her face crumpled. Oh God, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to. It's okay to be sad, Emma said. My therapist told me that. Before we couldn't afford therapy anymore. She said sadness isn't weakness. It's just love with nowhere to go. Your therapist was smart. She was. I miss her. Emma squeezed River's hand. But I'm glad I have you now. River pulled Emma into a hug, and Marcus had to look away from the rawness of it, from the way two broken people were holding each other up. Later, after Emma was asleep, Marcus found Sage on the porch. She was sitting on the steps, staring out at the dark. Mind if I join you? Free country. Marcus sat down, leaving space between them. River told me about the guilt you carry. River talks too much. She loves you. I know. Sage's voice was rough. That's the problem. She loves me, and I failed her. Failed both of them. How did you fail them? I'm an engineer, Marcus. Structural analysis is literally my job. I should have seen that the machinery at the plant was dangerous. Should have noticed the safety violations. But I was too busy with my own life, my own problems, and Mom paid the price. You couldn't have known. That's what everyone says. But it doesn't make it true. Sage pulled her knees to her chest. The night Mom died, River and I were in court, fighting the insurance company's lawyers. We thought we were helping, thought we were being strong. Mom was alone in that hospital bed calling for us, and we weren't there. We chose wrong. Marcus thought about Sarah, about the morning she collapsed. He'd been at a job site arguing with a client about tile choices. Sarah had been home alone. Emma at school, and she'd died on their kitchen floor with no one to hold her hand. I wasn't there when Sarah died either, Marcus said quietly. I was working, always working, trying to build something bigger, better, more successful. And my wife died alone because I chose a bathroom remodel over breakfast at home. Sage looked at him. That's not your fault. Isn't it? You blame yourself for not predicting an industrial accident. I blame myself for not being psychic enough to know my wife was dying that morning. We're both carrying guilt that doesn't belong to us. So what do we do about it? I don't know. Keep showing up, I guess. Keep trying. Honor them by living instead of just surviving. Marcus stood up, offered Sage his hand. Come on! Tomorrow's going to be brutal, and you need sleep. Sage took his hand and let him pull her up. Marcus. Yeah. Thank you. For not treating me like I'm broken. You're not broken. None of us are. We're just... He searched for the word. Under construction. Sage laughed despite herself. That's terrible. I'm a contractor. It's all I've got. The next morning brought their first real crisis. Marcus woke to shouting downstairs. He threw on clothes and ran down to find River and Sage facing off in the kitchen. We can't afford it. River's face was flushed. We have $200 left. $200. That won't even cover food for the next week. So what's your solution? Sage shot back. Let the plumbing stay broken. We can't shower, can't do laundry, can barely wash dishes. We need running water. We need food more. We need both. Stop it. Emma's voice cut through the argument. She stood in the doorway, pale and shaking. Just stop fighting. Both twins froze. Emma's hands were clenched into fists, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," Emma said, voice breaking. "I'm sorry we're so poor. I'm sorry my medical bills took everything. I'm sorry I'm sick and expensive and ruining everyone's lives." "Emma, no." Marcus moved toward her, but Emma backed away. "It's true. If it wasn't for me, you'd have money. You could fix the house properly. You wouldn't have to fight about food and water and which bill to pay." She was sobbing now. "Maybe I should just stop treatment. Then at least you'd have enough money to—" "Don't you dare finish that sentence." River was across the room in 2 strides, gripping Emma's shoulders. "Don't you dare. Your life is worth more than any house, any bill, any amount of money. Do you understand me? But, no buts. You are not a burden. You are not the problem. The system that bankrupts families for getting sick is the problem. The insurance companies that deny coverage are the problem. You are a child who deserves to live, and we will fight heaven and hell to make sure you do." Emma collapsed into River's arms, sobbing. Sage stood frozen by the counter, face white. Marcus felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed. "I'm sorry," Sage said roughly. "Emma, I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have fought like that in front of you." "We're all stressed," River said, still holding Emma. "But that's not an excuse. We're supposed to be a team." "You're right." Sage grabbed her jacket. "I'm going to Jerry's. Maybe he has some plumbing supplies he'll let us have on credit." "Sage, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." Sage was already at the door. "Emma's right. We need to stop fighting and start solving problems." She left before anyone could argue. Marcus sat down heavily at the table. Emma had stopped crying, but she wouldn't look at him. "I meant it," Emma said quietly. "About stopping treatment. If it means you all can survive—" "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "That's not an option. That's never going to be an option." "But the money?" "I will figure out the money. That's my job, not yours. Your job is to be 12 years old, to help with the house when you feel up to it, and rest when you don't, to laugh with River and learn from Sage, and just be a kid." He pulled her close. "We'll make this work. I promise." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." River started a pot of oatmeal, their last box. They ate in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Marcus's mind was spinning. $200. They needed at least $1,000 to get through the next month, more if Emma needed medical attention. He thought about the farmhouse, about the work they'd put in. The roof was done. The foundation was solid. If they could finish the plumbing and electrical, get the place through inspection, they could list it for sale. Jerry had mentioned a developer looking for properties in the area. If they could move fast— "I have an idea," Marcus said. "But you're all going to think I'm crazy." River looked up. "Crazier than buying a condemned house with your last dollar?" "Fair point." Marcus took a breath. "We finished the house in 2 weeks. Bare minimum to pass inspection. Nothing cosmetic, just functional. Then we listed immediately." 2 weeks. River's eyes widened. "Marcus, that's impossible." "Maybe, but maybe not. We've already done the hardest parts. The roof is done, the foundation is solid. If we work around the clock— You want to work us to death for 2 weeks on the chance that maybe we can sell this place?" Sage had returned without anyone noticing. She stood in the doorway, face unreadable. "That's your plan. You have a better one." "No." Sage came inside, set a box on the counter. "Which is why I already told Jerry we'd do it. He's fronting us the plumbing supplies on credit. Said we can pay him back when we sell. He also knows the inspector who owes him a favor. Can get us through inspection in 3 weeks instead of the usual 6. Marcus stared at her. "You already set this up." "I was thinking the same thing you were. We need to move fast or we're going to drown." Sage pulled pipe and fittings from the box. "So we finish this thing, and we finish it now. 2 weeks like you said. We'll sleep when it's done." "That's insane," River said. "You got a better idea." River looked at Emma, who was watching them all with wide eyes. Then she looked at Marcus. "Fine, 2 weeks. But if Emma's health suffers even a little, we stop. I don't care if we're one day away from finishing. Her health comes first." "Agreed," Marcus said immediately. "Then let's do this." Sage rolled up her sleeves. "Emma, I need you on tool duty. River, you're on cooking and logistics. Marcus and I will tag team the heavy work. We rotate every 4 hours so no one burns out completely." "When do we sleep?" Emma asked. "When we're dead." Sage said, then caught River's glare. "Or after 4-hour shifts, whichever comes first." They worked like demons. Marcus had never pushed himself so hard, not even in the early days of his business, when he'd been trying to prove himself. They worked 12-hour days, then 14, then 16. Time blurred into an endless cycle of pipes and wires and permits and inspections. Emma managed the schedule with terrifying efficiency, calling out who was supposed to be working and who was supposed to be resting. River kept them fed on increasingly creative combinations of cheap ingredients. Sage worked with the kind of focused intensity that scared Marcus a little. "You need to rest," he told her on day 5, finding her rewiring an outlet at 2 in the morning. "I'll rest when we're done." "Sage, I know my limits." "Do you? Because you look like hell." She laughed harshly. "Thanks. I'm serious. You're going to hurt yourself." "Better me than Emma." Sage didn't look up from her work. "That kid deserves a real home. She deserves stability and safety, and a father who's not choosing between food and shelter. If I have to work myself to exhaustion to give her that, it's worth it." Marcus sat down on the floor next to her. "You really care about her." "Of course I do. She reminds me of River at that age. Smart, resilient, trying to hold everything together while the adults fall apart around her." Sage's hands stilled. "When our dad left, River was the one who kept us functioning. She was 8 years old, and she was making breakfast, checking homework, making sure we got to school on time. Mom worked constantly and River filled in the gaps. No kid should have to do that." "Emma's doing the same thing," Marcus said quietly. "I know, which is why we're going to finish this house and sell it and get her into a real home with real medical care." Sage went back to the wiring. "Now either help me or get out of my way." He helped. On day 8, the inspector came. Jerry's friend, a weary-looking man named Tom, who'd seen every shortcut and half-assed repair job in the county. He walked through the house with a clipboard marking things down, his expression giving nothing away. "The roof is solid," Tom said finally. "Foundation work is good. Electrical is up to code." He paused. "Plumbing is functional but not pretty. Will it pass?" Marcus's heart was hammering. "It'll pass. Barely. You've got some cosmetic issues that'll need addressing eventually, but structurally and functionally, this house is livable." Tom signed the inspection form. "You did good work here. Real good work for the timeline you had." Marcus wanted to collapse with relief. Instead, he shook Tom's hand. "Thank you." "Thank Jerry. He said you folks needed a break. We all need a break sometimes." Tom handed over the signed papers. "Good luck with the sale." After Tom left, Marcus found the others in the kitchen. River was making coffee. Sage was reviewing contractor invoices. Emma was organizing receipts. They all looked up when he entered. "We passed," Marcus said. The room erupted. River hugged Sage. Emma threw her arms around Marcus. They were laughing and crying and talking over each other, the relief so intense it was almost painful. "We actually did it," River said, wiping her eyes. "Holy shit, we did it." "Language," Marcus said automatically, then laughed. "Sorry, force of habit." "We're listing it tomorrow," Sage said. "I already called the realtor Jerry recommended. She's coming by at noon to assess value and take pictures." "That fast?" "We don't have time to wait." Sage pulled up a calculator on her phone. "Even with Jerry's discount and the work we did ourselves, we're into this house for about $18,000. If we can sell it for $40,000, that's $22,000 profit. Split 3 ways, that's over $7,000 each." $7,000. Emma's next treatment. A deposit on an apartment. Money for food and clothes and all the ordinary expenses that had become impossible luxuries. "What if it doesn't sell?" Emma asked quietly. "Then we figure something else out," River said. "But we've come this far. We have to believe it'll work." The realtor came the next day. Sharon was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She walked through the house, asked questions, took notes. "You've done remarkable work here," Sharon said. "This place was condemned 6 months ago. Now it's move-in ready. That's impressive." "What do you think we can get for it?" Marcus asked. Sharon considered. "The market's soft right now, but with the work you've done, the location, the size, I'd list it at 45,000. See what happens." 45. Sage's voice was faint. "You think that's too high?" "I think that's perfect." Sharon smiled. "Let me take some photos and measurements. I'll have the listing up by tomorrow." They watched her work, the four of them standing together in what had been a disaster and was now something close to beautiful. Not magazine-worthy, but solid, functional, a real home. "We did this?" Emma said wonderingly. "We actually built this." "We did," Marcus agreed. Together. The listing went live the next morning. By noon, they had 3 showing requests. By evening, they had 5. The house showed well, the metal roof gleaming, the hardwood floors polished, the rooms clean and light-filled. The first couple who looked at it were young, probably mid-20s, holding hands as they toured. Marcus watched them imagine their future in these rooms and felt an unexpected pang. This had been supposed to be his and Emma's fresh start. But maybe it could be someone else's instead. "What do you think?" Marcus asked River quietly as they stood on the porch while the couple looked at the bedrooms. "I think we made something good here. Something worth keeping." "But we're not keeping it." "No. We're passing it on to someone who needs it." River looked at him. "That's okay too." The young couple didn't make an offer, but the second showing did. A family with 3 kids relocating from California, looking for space and affordability. They offered $42,000 cash, closing in 2 weeks. Sharon called with the news. Marcus put her on speaker so everyone could hear. "They're serious," Sharon said. "They've already got financing lined up. If you accept, you could close by the end of the month." Marcus looked at Sage and River and Emma. "What do we think?" "I think we'd be crazy to say no," Sage said. "I think this is what we've been working toward," River added. Emma just nodded, unable to speak. "Tell them we accept," Marcus said. The next 2 weeks were a strange limbo. They kept living in the house, but couldn't quite settle, knowing it wasn't theirs anymore. Marcus caught Emma running her hand along the walls, sometimes saying goodbye to rooms she'd helped build. "You okay?" he asked her one evening. "I'm going to miss it here. Is that weird?" "No, baby, it's not weird. We were happy here, the 4 of us. Even when things were hard, we were happy." Marcus pulled her close. "We'll be happy somewhere else too. Promise. Promise." The closing day came cold and bright. They signed papers in Sharon's office, watched the money transfer electronically. $24,000 profit after expenses, split 3 ways, $8,000 each. Marcus looked at the check in his hand and felt nothing. No triumph, no relief, just exhaustion. "Now what?" Sage asked. "Now we figure out what comes next," River said. They drove away from Sharon's office in Marcus's truck. The 4 of them crammed into the cab like they'd been that first night. Everything they owned was packed in the truck bed. Again. "Where are we going?" Emma asked. Marcus opened his mouth to answer and realized he didn't know. They had money now, but no plan. No home lined up. No clear path forward. "How about we find some lunch first?" River suggested. "Figure out the rest after we've eaten." They stopped at a diner, ordered burgers and fries, and sat in a booth trying to process what had just happened. $8,000 each. Enough to survive for a few months if they were careful. Enough for Emma's next treatment. Enough to start over. We could find an apartment, Sage said. Split the rent 3 ways. That would be cheaper than living separately. You want to keep living together? Marcus asked, surprised. Why not? It worked in the farmhouse. That was temporary. Says who? River leaned forward. Marcus, we work well together. We balance each other out. And Emma, she looked at the girl. Emma deserves to have people around who care about her. Not just her dad, but a whole family. You want to be her family, Marcus said slowly. We already are her family. Have been since that first night. Sage's voice was fierce. Or did the last 6 weeks mean nothing to you? They meant everything. The words came out rough. But you both have your own lives, your own futures. You don't need to tie yourselves to a single father and his sick kid. First of all, Emma's not just a sick kid, River said. She's our Emma. And second, we don't have grand futures waiting for us. We have each other, and we have you too. That's worth more than any job or apartment or independent life. Emma was crying silently, clutching her burger. Marcus felt his own eyes burn. Are you sure? He asked. We're sure, Sage said. If you'll have us. If I'll... Marcus laughed, choked. Of course I'll have you. You're my family now too. They found an apartment the next day. 3 bedrooms, walking distance to Emma's school and the hospital. It wasn't much, but it was warm and safe, and theirs. They moved in with a few pieces of donated furniture and the strange, precious knowledge that they'd chosen each other. That night, sitting on the floor eating pizza because they didn't have a table yet, Emma said, "This feels like home." It does, River agreed. Better than the farmhouse? Sage asked. Emma considered. Different. The farmhouse was where we became a family. This is where we get to stay one. Marcus looked around at these 3 people who'd crashed into his life when he'd had nothing left to give, who'd given him everything in return. Sage, with her sharp edges and fierce loyalty. River, with her quiet strength and endless compassion. Emma, his daughter, thriving in ways he'd never imagined possible. Yeah, he said softly. This is home, but home didn't fix everything. Marcus learned that 3 days into their new life when Emma's fever spiked again. He found her in the bathroom at 2 a.m, vomiting into the toilet, her whole body shaking. I'm sorry. Emma gasped between heaves. I'm sorry I tried to be quiet. Shh, baby, it's okay. Marcus held her hair back, his heart hammering. This was bad. This was the kind of fever that meant infection, that meant the leukemia was winning. River appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, took one look, and was moving. Sage. Get the car started. Marcus, get her coat. We don't have insurance, Marcus said, even as he was lifting Emma. The hospital. We'll treat her first, and bill us later. Move. They drove through empty streets, Emma limp in River's arms in the back seat. Marcus's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Sage sat beside him, silent, her jaw tight. She's going to be okay, Sage said finally. You don't know that. I know she survived worse. I know she's strong. I know we're not losing her tonight. Marcus wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that willpower and love could be enough. But he'd watched Sarah die despite all his love, all his prayers, all his desperate bargaining with a God he wasn't sure he believed in. At the hospital, they rushed Emma through triage. The nurse took one look at her medical history and called for a doctor immediately. Marcus tried to follow, but a hand caught his arm. Family only past this point, the nurse said. I'm her father. I know, but hospital policy says only one guardian in the treatment room. The others need to wait here. Marcus looked back at River and Sage, standing in the waiting room looking lost and terrified. They're family too. Are they legal guardians? No, but... Then they wait here, I'm sorry. Marcus followed Emma through the doors, leaving River and Sage behind. The guilt was immediate and crushing. They'd been with him through everything, had cared for Emma like she was their own, and now they were relegated to a waiting room because some hospital policy said their love didn't count, The doctor was young, efficient, running tests and asking questions Marcus had answered 100 times before. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. In remission, then relapse. Treatment interrupted due to insurance lapse. No, they hadn't been able to afford the experimental therapy. Yes, he knew the risks. Her white blood cell count is critically low, the doctor said finally. She has an infection that her body can't fight. We need to admit her, start aggressive antibiotics and possibly another round of chemo. How much will that cost? The doctor's expression softened. Let's focus on getting her stable first. We have social workers who can help with the financial side. Translation, it would cost everything they had and more. They admitted Emma to pediatric oncology. Marcus sat beside her bed as nurses hooked up IVs and monitors, watching his daughter disappear behind tubes and wires and medical equipment. Emma's eyes found his, scared but trying to be brave. "Am I dying?" she whispered. "No." Marcus gripped her hand. "No, baby. You're going to fight this and you're going to win." "You can't know that." "Watch me be right." Emma smiled weakly. Then her eyes drifted closed. The medication was pulling her under, giving her body a chance to rest while the antibiotics did their work. Marcus sat there until a nurse touched his shoulder. "Sir, visiting hours are over. You need to go home." "I'm not leaving her." "Hospital policy." "I don't care about hospital policy. My daughter is terrified, and I'm not leaving her alone." The nurse hesitated, then sighed. "I'll see if we can get you a cot, but you have to stay quiet and out of the way." "I'll be invisible." River and Sage were still in the waiting room when he went to update them. They stood up immediately, faces tight with worry. "She's stable," Marcus said. "They're keeping her for observation, starting antibiotics and maybe chemo depending on how she responds." "Can we see her?" River asked. "Not until visiting hours tomorrow. I'm staying overnight, but they won't let anyone else." "That's bullshit," Sage said flatly. "It's hospital policy." "It's still bullshit. We've been taking care of her for 2 months. We're her family." "Not according to the paperwork." Marcus felt the exhaustion crushing him. "Look, you should go home. Get some rest. I'll call you in the morning with updates." "We're not leaving you here alone," River said firmly. "There's nothing you can do. We can be here. We can wait. We can make sure you eat and sleep and don't fall apart." River crossed her arms. "We're staying." Marcus looked at these 2 women who'd barged into his life and refused to leave, who loved his daughter like their own, who were choosing to spend the night in an uncomfortable waiting room chair because that's what family did. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay, thank you." They took turns through the night. River brought coffee and granola bars from the vending machine. Sage paced the hallways, burning off nervous energy. Marcus went back and forth between Emma's room and the waiting room, unable to settle anywhere. At 4 in the morning, he found River standing at the window, staring out at the dark city. "You should sleep," Marcus said. "Can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see my mom in a hospital bed like this." River's voice was hollow. The beeping machines, the antiseptic smell, the nurses coming in every hour to check vitals. It's all the same. Marcus stood beside her. "I'm sorry." "It's not your fault." "I'm sorry you're reliving it anyway." River was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "When Mom died, I promised myself I'd never let myself care about anyone that much again. It hurt too badly when I lost her. But then, Emma." Her voice cracked. "God, Marcus, I love that kid so much. And I'm terrified I'm going to lose her too." "You're not going to lose her." "How do you know?" "Because Emma's a fighter. Because she has people who love her. Because—" Marcus stopped, realizing something. Because even if the worst happens, loving her was still worth it. The pain of loss doesn't erase the joy of having loved. River looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Did you believe that when Sarah died? No. But I'm starting to now. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and they stood there together, two people bound by grief and hope in equal measure. Emma's fever broke the next afternoon. Marcus was dozing in the chair beside her bed when her voice woke him. Dad. He was up immediately. Hey, baby. How do you feel? Tired, thirsty. Emma looked around. Where are River and Sage? Waiting room. They're not allowed in here. That's stupid. I agree. Can you tell them I'm okay? They're probably worried. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Even sick and exhausted, Emma was thinking about others. I'll tell them. The doctor came in an hour later with test results. The antibiotics are working. Her white count is coming up. We'll keep her another night for observation, but if she stays stable, she can go home tomorrow. And the leukemia, the doctor's expression was careful. It's still there. The infection was a complication but not the primary issue. She needs to resume treatment as soon as possible. The experimental therapy. That would be ideal, yes. How much? The full course runs about $60,000 without insurance. Marcus felt the world tilt. $60,000. They had $8,000 from the house sale. Even if River and Sage contributed their shares, they'd be $40,000 short. Are there payment plans? Financial aid programs? There are. The social worker can go over your options. But Marcus. The doctor's voice gentled. The sooner we start treatment, the better her chances. Every week we delay, the leukemia gets stronger. After the doctor left, Marcus sat with his head in his hands, trying to breathe through the panic. $8,000. $60,000 needed. The math was impossible. Emma's hand found his. It's okay, Dad. It's not okay. We'll figure it out. We always do. Emma. Dad, look at me. She waited until he met her eyes. 6 months ago, we were sleeping in a truck. We had nothing. Now we have an apartment and money in the bank and River and Sage. Things got better. They'll get better again. When did you get so wise? I've had good teachers. Marcus kissed her forehead. I'm going to fix this. I promise. He left Emma resting and found River and Sage in the waiting room. They stood up when they saw his face. What's wrong? Sage asked immediately. Marcus told them about the treatment cost, about the impossible gap between what they had and what they needed. When he finished, both twins were silent. Then River said, Use my money. What? My $8,000 from the house sale. Use it for Emma's treatment. River, that's your money. Your fresh start. Emma is my fresh start. She's the first person since Mom died who made me want to keep going. River's voice was fierce. Take the money. Take mine too, Sage said immediately. 16,000 is better than 8. Marcus stared at them. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. We're offering. Sage stepped forward. Marcus, Emma is our family. What kind of family would we be if we let her die because we wanted to keep our savings? But your futures. Our futures include Emma being alive, River said firmly. That's non-negotiable. Take the money. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain some shred of pride or independence. But pride didn't cure cancer. Independence didn't save lives. Okay, he said roughly. Okay, thank you. With 16,000 they were still short, but it was enough to start treatment. The social worker helped them apply for assistance programs, set up payment plans, found grants for pediatric cancer patients. It was a patchwork solution, held together with bureaucratic paperwork and desperate hope, but it was something. Emma came home the next day, weak but stable. River made soup while Sage helped Emma into bed. Marcus stood in the doorway watching his makeshift family care for his daughter, and something in his chest that had been clenched tight for months finally loosened. We need to talk, he said that night after Emma was asleep. River and Sage looked up from where they sat on the couch, going through more medical bills. "That sounds ominous," Sage said. "It's not. Marcus sat down across from them. "You gave up your money for Emma. For us. I need to know why." "We told you why," River said. "No, you told me Emma's your family. But you've only known her for 2 months. Why would you sacrifice everything for a kid who's not even yours?" The twins exchanged a glance. Then River spoke. "When Mom died, I wanted to die too. Not suicide, just ceasing to exist seemed easier than feeling that much pain. Sage had to drag me out of bed every morning, had to force me to eat, to shower, to keep existing." Her voice was quiet. "Then we lost everything else. The house, the car, our dignity. We were sleeping in parking lots, and I kept thinking, this is it. This is rock bottom. It can't get worse." "But it did get worse," Sage continued. "Because we realized rock bottom has a basement. We were hungry and cold and scared and alone. And I watched River shut down. Watched her stop talking, stop feeling, stop being herself. She was disappearing right in front of me, and I couldn't stop it. Then we found the farmhouse," River said. "And it was shelter. It was warmth. It was something. But it still felt like we were just surviving, not living. Then you showed up with Emma, and suddenly there was something to care about besides our own misery. Emma needed us. You needed us. We had a purpose again." "Emma made me want to wake up in the morning," Sage said simply. "She made me laugh. Made me remember what it felt like to hope. And you," she looked at Marcus, "you trusted us when you had every reason not to. You saw 2 homeless women squatting in your house, and instead of calling the cops, you offered partnership. That kind of faith. It changes you." "So yes, we gave up our money," River said. "But it's not a sacrifice. It's an investment in the only thing that matters, the people we love." Marcus had to look away, blinking hard. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to thank us," Sage said. "You just have to let us keep being part of your family." Deal. Emma started treatment the following week. The experimental therapy was brutal, leaving her sick and exhausted and miserable. Marcus held her hair while she vomited, rubbed her back through the pain, tried to distract her with stories and movies and anything that might help. River and Sage took turns staying home with Emma, while Marcus picked up construction work. The money from the house sale was disappearing fast, eaten up by medical bills and rent, and the ordinary expenses of living. They needed income, needed stability, needed some kind of sustainable future. "I've been thinking," Sage said one evening after Emma was asleep. They were all in the living room, exhausted, trying to decompress. "About what comes next, for all of us." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "I mean, we can't keep living like this. Working random jobs, barely scraping by, always one emergency away from disaster. We need something sustainable." "Like what?" "Like a business." Sage leaned forward. "Marcus, you're a contractor with 20 years of experience. I'm an engineer. River has a business degree and can manage operations. We work well together. Why not make it official? You want to start a construction company. I want to start a restoration company, specializing in condemned properties, historic buildings, disaster recovery. The kind of work that needs expertise and attention to detail." Sage's eyes were bright. "We already proved we can do it with the farmhouse. We took a disaster and made it beautiful. That's marketable." Marcus looked at River. "What do you think?" "I think Sage is right. We're good at this. And working for ourselves means flexible schedules, which we need for Emma's treatment." River pulled out her phone, started typing. "We'd need startup capital, business licenses, insurance, marketing, but it's doable." "With what money?" "With mine," a voice said from the hallway. They all turned. Emma stood there in her pajamas, pale but determined. "Emma, you should be in bed," Marcus said. "I'm 13, not dead. I can stand in a hallway." She came into the room, moving carefully. "I heard what you were saying. about starting a business. You should do it. Baby, it's complicated. No, it's not. You're good at fixing houses. They're good at helping. You work well together. Start a company. Emma sat down next to Marcus. And use my college fund. Absolutely not. Dad, listen. I had a college fund. $10,000 that Mom's parents set up before she died. You never touched it, even when we were sleeping in the truck. Emma's voice was steady. But I might not make it to college. And even if I do, I'd rather have you all together and working than have money sitting in a bank account. Emma. I'm serious, Dad. Use the money. Build something. If I get better, I'll work for the company and earn my way through college. If I don't... She trailed off. If I don't, at least the money went to something good. Marcus felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed. Don't talk like that. I have cancer, Dad. We have to talk like that. Emma took his hand. I'm not giving up. I'm going to fight this with everything I have, but I'm also a realist. And realistically, you need to plan for a future with or without me. I want you to have something solid, something that can't be taken away. River was crying silently. Sage had turned away, shoulders shaking. Marcus pulled Emma close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, memorizing the feel of her in his arms. Okay, he whispered. Okay, baby. We'll use the money. We'll build something amazing. And you're going to be part of it. Understand, because you're going to beat this thing. I'm going to try. You're going to succeed. They filed the business paperwork the next week. Chen and Hayes Restoration, LLC. Equal partnership between Marcus, Sage, and River, with Emma listed as a junior partner to be vested when she turned 18. They used Emma's college fund for startup costs, getting licenses and insurance, and a down payment on a used work truck. Their first job came through Jerry's salvage yard. A historic church that had been damaged in a fire, the congregation desperate to restore it, but lacking funds. Most contractors had quoted prices too high. Chen and Hayes offered a fair rate and a timeline that seemed impossible. You sure you can do this? The pastor asked, looking at their ragtag crew. We restored a condemned farmhouse in 2 weeks, Sage said confidently. A church is easy by comparison. It wasn't easy. But it was satisfying in a way Marcus had forgotten work could be. They poured everything into that church, treating it like the sacred space it was. Sage engineered solutions for the fire-damaged structure. River managed the budget and schedule. Marcus did the fine detail work, the careful restoration of historic elements. Emma came to the job site when she felt well enough, sitting on an overturned bucket and doing homework while they worked. The congregation adopted her immediately, bringing food and books and keeping her company. The pastor's wife, a retired nurse, checked Emma's vitals and made sure she was taking her medications on schedule. You've got good people around you, the pastor told Marcus one afternoon. I do. I don't know what I did to deserve them. Maybe it's not about deserving. Maybe it's about recognizing the gift when it's offered. They finished the church 3 weeks later, under budget and ahead of schedule. The congregation was overjoyed, and the pastor recommended them to 3 other churches in need of restoration work. Word spread. Chen and Hayes Restoration started getting calls. By Emma's 14th birthday, they had steady work and a small but growing reputation. The money wasn't great, but it was consistent. They could pay rent, buy groceries, cover Emma's medical expenses without panic. Emma's treatment was working. Slowly, painfully, but working. Her white blood cell counts were improving. The leukemia was responding. She had energy again, color in her cheeks, hope in her eyes. The scans look good, the oncologist said at Emma's 6-month checkup. Really good. If this trajectory continues, we might be talking about remission. Marcus felt River's hand find his Sage's hand grip his shoulder. They were all crying relief and joy and exhausted gratitude mixing together. How long until we know for sure? Marcus managed to ask. 3 more months of treatment, then we'll do comprehensive testing. But Marcus, the doctor smiled. I'm optimistic. Your daughter is a fighter. She learned from the best, River said, looking at Marcus. That night, they celebrated with takeout pizza and cheap champagne. Emma was allowed 1 sip, which she pronounced disgusting, making them all laugh. They sat on the floor of their small apartment, this family they'd built from desperation and choice. And Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Can I say something? Emma asked. Always, Marcus said. I know I'm supposed to be the kid, but I want you to know I'm proud of all of you. Dad, you could have given up 100 times and you didn't. River Sage, you had every reason to walk away and you stayed. You all chose each other. You chose me. Emma's voice wavered. That means everything. Sage pulled Emma into a hug. You chose us too, kid. The first time you didn't freak out about 2 strangers in your house, you chose us. I was 12. I didn't know any better. You knew exactly what you were doing, River said. You saw people who needed help and you refused to see them as threats. That's wisdom, Emma. That's grace. They stayed up late telling stories and making plans. River wanted to expand the business, maybe hire a small crew. Sage had ideas for targeting historic preservation grants. Marcus was content to keep doing good work and coming home to people he loved. Emma fell asleep on the couch, curled up between River and Sage. Marcus covered her with a blanket, then sat back and just watched them. His daughter healthy and happy, the twins who'd barged into his life and refused to leave, the family they'd become. We made it, River said softly. We're still making it, Marcus corrected. Every day, together. Together, Sage agreed. Emma stirred, mumbled something in her sleep. River adjusted the blanket, smoothing Emma's hair back. The gesture was so tender, so maternal, that Marcus felt his eyes burn. Thank you, he said, for loving her, for staying, for everything. Thank you for letting us, River said simply. They sat in comfortable silence, the 4 of them, in their small apartment with its secondhand furniture and nothing fancy, but everything that mattered. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, they had each other. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. But everything wasn't everything for long. Marcus got the call on a Tuesday morning. He was at a job site helping Sage install new joists in a water-damaged ceiling when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Mr. Chen, this is Patricia Henley from Child Protective Services. The world stopped. Marcus's hands went numb. What's wrong? Is Emma okay? Emma is fine, but we've received a complaint about your living situation. I need to schedule a home visit to assess the environment. A complaint from who? I'm not at liberty to say, but allegations have been made that your daughter is living with unrelated adults in an inappropriate situation. We take these concerns seriously. River and Sage aren't inappropriate, they're family. I understand, Mr. Chen, but we have protocols to follow. I can come by Thursday at 10. Please make sure all household members are present. She hung up before Marcus could argue. He stood there, phone in hand, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under him. Marcus. Sage was watching him from the ladder. What happened? CPS. Someone reported us. Sage nearly dropped her drill. What? They're coming Thursday to assess our living situation. Said there were allegations about Emma living with unrelated adults. That's insane. We've been taking care of her for almost a year. They don't care. They have protocols. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. Someone called them. Someone looked at our family and decided it was wrong. Who would do that? Marcus thought about the judgmental looks they sometimes got. The questions about why Emma called River and Sage by their first names instead of Aunt. The raised eyebrows when people learned their living arrangement. There were plenty of people who might have made that call. Doesn't matter who, Marcus said finally. What matters is Thursday. We need to be ready. They spent the next 2 days preparing. River deep cleaned the apartment until it gleamed. Sage organized all of Emma's medical records, school reports, anything that proved she was healthy and well cared for. Marcus rehearsed what he'd say, how he'd explain that these women weren't strangers or threats, but the people who'd saved both their lives. Emma knew something was wrong. She was 14 now, too perceptive to fool. "Dad, what's going on? Everyone's acting weird." Marcus sat her down. "Someone called CPS, reported that you're living in an inappropriate situation." Emma's face went white. "They're going to take me away." "No, nobody's taking you anywhere." "You can't know that." Emma's voice was rising. "I've heard stories. Kids getting taken from good homes because some social worker decides the family isn't normal enough." "Dad, I can't lose you. I can't lose River and Sage." "You're not going to lose anyone." "You keep saying that, like it's a promise you can keep." Emma was crying now. "But you couldn't promise Mom wouldn't die. You couldn't promise I wouldn't get sick. You can't promise this either." The words hit like physical blows. Marcus reached for her, but Emma pulled away. "I'm tired of pretending everything will be okay. I'm tired of being brave and positive and believing things will work out. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes people die and families fall apart, and CPS takes kids away, and—" River appeared in the doorway. "Emma, breathe." "Don't tell me to breathe. They're going to ruin everything." "Maybe, maybe not, but falling apart before they even get here won't help." River sat down on the floor in front of Emma. "I know you're scared. We all are. But we've faced worse than this and survived. We'll face this too. How can you be so calm?" "I'm not calm. I'm terrified. But I learned a long time ago that fear only wins if you let it paralyze you. So instead of falling apart, we prepare. We show them the truth that you're loved and cared for and thriving. And if they still try to take you—" River's voice hardened. "Then we fight like hell." Emma wiped her eyes. "Promise. Promise." Thursday came too fast. Patricia Henley arrived exactly at 10, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a clipboard that might as well have been a weapon. Marcus let her in, trying to keep his hands from shaking. "Thank you for making time, Mr. Chen. I know this must be stressful." "You have no idea." She walked through the apartment making notes. Marcus watched her examine the bedrooms, the kitchen, the living room. Everything was clean and organized and completely normal, but he felt like they were being judged anyway. River and Sage sat on the couch, ramrod straight. Emma sat between them, pale but composed. "Tell me about your living arrangement," Patricia said, settling into a chair across from them. Marcus explained how they'd met, how River and Sage had helped him fix the farmhouse, how they'd become family through shared struggle and choice. He kept his voice steady, clinical, trying to make it sound reasonable instead of desperate. Patricia listened without interrupting. Then she turned to the twins. "And you too. Why did you choose to stay with Mr. Chen and Emma after you sold the house?" "Because they're our family," River said simply. "But you're not related. Blood doesn't make a family. Love and commitment do." River met Patricia's gaze without flinching. Emma needed people who understood what it was like to lose a parent, to feel lost and scared. We understood. We'd lived it. And Marcus needed help raising a daughter with cancer while trying to rebuild his life. We could help. So we stayed. Some people might view your presence as inappropriate. Two young women living with a single father and his daughter. Sage's jaw tightened. Some people have dirty minds. We've never done anything inappropriate. We're Emma's guardians, her support system, her family. The fact that we're not married to Marcus or biologically related to Emma doesn't change that. Patricia made notes. "Emma, can I speak with you privately?" Marcus started to protest, but River's hand on his arm stopped him. Emma stood up, shoulders back, and followed Patricia into the kitchen. The minutes dragged. Marcus could hear their voices but not the words. He wanted to burst in there, wanted to defend his daughter, wanted to make this woman understand that they'd built something good and real, and she had no right to threaten it. "She's just doing her job," River said quietly. "Her job is tearing families apart. Her job is protecting children. Even if she's wrong about us, her intentions are good." Marcus looked at River. This woman who'd been homeless and desperate less than a year ago, who'd been failed by every system designed to help people like her, and she was defending the social worker threatening to take Emma away. "How can you be so understanding?" "Because I've been on the other side. I've been the person everyone judged without knowing the full story. I won't become the thing I hated." River's voice was firm. "We tell the truth, and we trust that the truth is enough." Emma and Patricia returned. Emma's face was unreadable, but she came straight to Marcus and took his hand. "Emma speaks very highly of all of you," Patricia said. "She's clearly loved and well cared for. Her medical records show consistent treatment and follow-up. Her school performance is excellent. By every metric, she's thriving." Marcus felt hope flicker. "So you'll close the case?" "Not immediately. I need to file my report and have it reviewed, but I'll be recommending that no further action be taken." Patricia stood up. "Mr. Chen, I want to be clear about something. Your family is unconventional. It doesn't fit the traditional model. Some people will always have a problem with that. But from what I've seen today, Emma is safe, healthy, and happy. That's what matters." After she left, they sat in stunned silence. Emma spoke first. "She asked me if I felt safe here. If River or Sage ever made me uncomfortable. If you were a good father." Emma's voice was quiet. "I told her the truth, that I've never felt safer than I do with all three of you, that River and Sage are the best things that ever happened to us, that you're not just a good father, you're the best father because you were willing to accept help when you needed it instead of pretending you could do everything alone." "What did she say to that?" Marcus asked. "She said I was wise beyond my years. Then she asked if I wanted to stay here or if I'd prefer foster care." Emma's laugh was shaky. "Like there was any question. I told her I'd run away before I let anyone split up our family." "Emma, I meant it, Dad. This is my family, all of you, and nobody gets to tell us that's wrong." Sage pulled Emma into a fierce hug. River joined them, and then Marcus, all four of them clinging together in the middle of their small living room. "We need to protect this," Marcus said. "Legally protect it, so nobody can question our right to be together." "What are you suggesting?" River asked. Marcus pulled back, looked at all three of them. "I'm suggesting we make it official. Legal guardianship for River and Sage. Adoption if they're willing. I'm suggesting we stop living in fear that someone will decide our family isn't legitimate." "You want us to adopt Emma?" Sage's voice was barely audible. "I want Emma to have 3 parents instead of 1. I want her to know that if something happens to me, she'll still have you. I want the world to recognize what we already know, that you're her family as much as I am." River was crying. "Marcus, that's huge. Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." "What if we screw it up?" Sage asked. "We've only been doing this for a year. What if we're terrible at the long-term parenting thing? Then we'll screw it up together." Marcus smiled despite the tears on his face. "That's what families do. They mess up and forgive each other and keep showing up anyway." Emma looked at River and Sage. Will you be my moms?" The question hung in the air. River and Sage looked at each other, that twin communication happening wordlessly. Then they both turned to Emma. "Yes," River said. "God, yes." "Absolutely yes," Sage added. "We'd be honored." They filed the paperwork the next week. The legal process was complicated and expensive, but Jerry connected them with a lawyer who did the work for a fraction of her usual fee. 6 months later, the adoption was finalized. Emma Chen Hayes officially had 3 parents. The day the papers came through, they celebrated at the same diner where they'd eaten after closing on the farmhouse. Emma insisted on the booth in the corner the same one they'd sat in a year ago when everything was uncertain and terrifying. "Look how far we've come," Emma said, looking around at them. "A year ago we were 4 broken people trying to survive. Now we're a family." "A weird family," Sage said. "The best kind of family," River corrected. Marcus raised his water glass. "To second chances and the people brave enough to take them." They clinked glasses, all 4 of them, and Marcus felt something settle in his chest. This was real. This was permanent. This was home. But life kept testing them. 3 months after the adoption, Emma's cancer came back. Marcus got the call from the oncologist while he was replacing windows on a historic library. He walked outside to take it, already knowing from the doctor's tone that it was bad news. The latest scans show new malignancies. The experimental treatment stopped working. "We need to discuss next steps." "What are the next steps?" "More aggressive chemotherapy. Possibly a bone marrow transplant if we can find a match. I won't lie to you, Marcus. This is serious." Marcus sat down on the curb, phone pressed to his ear, feeling like he'd been punched. They'd beaten it once. They'd thought they were done. But cancer didn't care about fairness or second chances. "How long?" he managed to ask. "With treatment could be years. Without treatment—" The doctor paused. "Months, maybe weeks. But Emma's young and strong. We're not giving up." "Neither are we," he told River and Sage that night after Emma was asleep. They sat at the kitchen table, the 3 of them, and Marcus watched his words destroy them. "No," Sage said flatly. "No, we're not doing this again. She beat it once. She'll beat it again." The doctor said, "I don't care what the doctor said. Emma is not dying. I refuse to accept that." "Sage." River's voice was gentle. Don't give me reality or statistics or any of that. I'm not ready to think about losing her." "None of us are ready," Marcus said. "But we don't have a choice. The cancer is back, and we have to deal with it." "How?" Sage's voice cracked. "How do we watch her go through that hell again? How do we stay strong when we're falling apart?" "The same way we've always done it. Together," they told Emma the next morning. She took it better than any of them, sitting at the breakfast table with her orange juice like they were discussing the weather. "Okay," Emma said. "So we fight it again." "Baby, it's worse this time," Marcus said carefully. "So we fight harder." Emma's jaw was set. "I'm not giving up. I have too much to live for." "We'll find a bone marrow match," River said. "One of us might be compatible." "Already thought of that," Emma interrupted. "I want all 3 of you tested. And if none of you match, we'll test extended family, then the registry. We'll find a match." "And if we don't?" Sage asked quietly. "Then we deal with that when it happens. But I'm not planning my funeral yet." Emma stood up. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have homework. Ms. Rodriguez assigned a massive essay, and I'm not letting cancer be an excuse for late work." She left them sitting there, stunned by her composure. Marcus looked at River and Sage. "She's handling this better than we are," he said. "She's had practice," River said. "This is her 2nd round. She knows what to expect." "That's worse. She shouldn't have to know what to expect." "But she does, and she's choosing to fight anyway. That's courage." They all got tested for bone marrow compatibility. None of them matched. They expanded the search to the National Registry, hoping for a miracle. Days turned into weeks with no word. Emma started the new chemotherapy regimen. It was worse than before, more aggressive, leaving her violently ill and barely able to function. She lost her hair again, lost weight she couldn't afford to lose, lost the color in her face and the energy in her step. But she never lost her determination. "I'm going to beat this," she said one night, curled up on the couch with River. She looked tiny and fragile, but her voice was steel. "I'm going to live long enough to graduate high school, go to college, maybe take over the family business. I have plans, and cancer is not going to ruin them." "We believe you," River said, smoothing Emma's hair. Do you really? Because sometimes I see the way you all look at me. Like you're memorizing my face. Like you're preparing to lose me. Marcus's throat closed. River's hand stilled. We're not giving up on you, Sage said from the doorway. We're just terrified. There's a difference. I know. I'm terrified too. Emma's voice went small. What if I don't beat it this time? What if this is it? Then we make sure every moment you have left is filled with love, Marcus said. But I don't think this is it, Emma. I think you're going to fight like hell and come out the other side. You really believe that? I have to believe it. The alternative is unacceptable. The call from the registry came on a Thursday. Marcus was at work when his phone rang. Mr. Chen, we found a match. A preliminary match for Emma. The donor needs to confirm availability, but the markers line up perfectly. Marcus nearly dropped his phone. You're sure? As sure as we can be without final testing. We'll know more in a few days, but this is very promising. Marcus called River immediately. She answered on the first ring. They found a match, he said without preamble. River's sob of relief was audible through the phone. Thank God. Thank God. The donor confirmed availability the next week. The transplant was scheduled for 3 weeks out, giving Emma time to prepare and the donor time to travel. They learned nothing about the donor, except that she was a 26-year-old woman from Minnesota who'd registered with the Marrow Registry after her own sister died of leukemia. She's doing this to save someone else's sister, Emma said quietly. That's brave. So are you, Sage said. You're the bravest person I know. The transplant was scheduled for Emma's 15th birthday. She insisted it was good luck. I'm getting a new birthday and a new lease on life, she said. It's poetic. The procedure itself was terrifying. Marcus held Emma's hand while they prepped her, watching the fear flicker across her face despite her brave words. Dad, what if this doesn't work? Then we try something else. But it's going to work. How do you know? Because you're Emma Chen Hayes and you're too stubborn to die. She laughed despite the tears. That's a terrible reason. It's the best reason. River and Sage were in the waiting room when they wheeled Emma into surgery. Marcus sat between them, the three of them holding hands and not speaking. There were no words for this kind of fear. 5 hours later, the surgeon came out. The transplant went perfectly. Emma's in recovery. The next few weeks will be critical, but everything went exactly as planned. Marcus felt his knees give out. River caught him on one side, Sage on the other, and they stood there together holding each other up. Emma's recovery was slow and painful. She spent weeks in isolation, her immune system destroyed by the transplant, vulnerable to any infection. They took turns visiting one at a time, wearing masks and gloves, and feeling like the barriers between them were unbearable. But slowly, Emma improved. Her blood counts started rising. The new marrow was in grafting. 3 months after the transplant, the doctors declared it a success. She's in remission, the oncologist said. Full remission. If she stays stable for 5 years, we'll call it cured. Marcus sat down hard. River and Sage were crying. Emma, sitting in her hospital bed, just smiled. Told you, she said. Too stubborn to die. They brought her home on a sunny afternoon in May, almost 2 years to the day since Marcus had found River and Sage in his farmhouse. Emma was thin and weak, but alive. So gloriously, impossibly alive. Welcome home, River said, opening the apartment door. Inside, they'd hung a banner. Welcome home, Emma. Balloons covered the ceiling. The kitchen table was loaded with Emma's favorite foods. You guys... Emma's voice broke. This is too much. It's not enough, Sage said. It'll never be enough. They ate dinner together, the four of them talking and laughing and crying. Emma told stories about the nurses, about the woman in the next room who'd taught her to crochet, about the letters she'd received from the bone marrow donor. Her name is Sarah, Emma said. Same as Mom. She wrote me a letter after the transplant. Said she was honored to help save my life, that her sister would have loved knowing something good came from her death. Marcus felt his throat close. Sarah. his wife's name. The woman who'd saved Emma's life shared her name with the woman who'd given Emma life in the first place. "That's not a coincidence," River said softly. "That's a gift." "I want to meet her someday," Emma said. "Thank her in person." "We'll make that happen," Marcus promised. Life settled into a new normal. Emma returned to school, graduated high school with honors, decided to major in business so she could take over Chen and Hayes Restoration someday. The company grew slowly but steadily. They hired 2 employees, then 4, then 6. Marcus handed more of the operations to River and Sage, trusting them to run things while he focused on the craft he loved. Emma's 5-year remission anniversary came on a rainy Tuesday. They'd planned a small celebration, but Emma had other ideas. "I want to go back to the farmhouse," she said. "The farmhouse?" Marcus was surprised. "Why?" "Because that's where everything started, where we became a family. I want to see it again." They drove out on Saturday. The farmhouse looked abandoned again, the metal roof they'd installed starting to rust, weeds reclaiming the yard. But it was still standing, still solid, still proof of what they'd built together. "It looks sad," Emma said. "It looks like it needs a family," Sage corrected. "Maybe we should buy it back," River said suddenly. "Fix it up again. Make it a real home this time." Marcus looked at her. "Are you serious?" "Why not? We have the money now. We have the skills. We could turn it into something beautiful, our family home. Our family already has a home. We have an apartment. This could be something more." River walked toward the house, running her hand along the porch railing. "This is where we saved each other, where we learned we were stronger together than apart. That means something." Emma looked at Marcus. "Can we, Dad? Can we really come back here?" Marcus looked at the farmhouse, at the place where his life had ended and begun again, at the porch where he'd first seen River and Sage, at the door where Emma had stood asking if they could show him how they'd fix the fireplace, at the foundation of everything they'd become. "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, let's come home." They closed on the farmhouse 3 months later. This time they took their time with the renovation. No desperate 2-week sprint, but careful, thoughtful work. They made it beautiful. Added on extra bedrooms, renovated the kitchen, created a workshop in the barn for Sage's projects. Made it a home that could hold all 4 of them and the life they'd built. The day they moved in, Marcus stood on the porch and remembered the man he'd been that first night. Desperate and angry and terrified. He barely recognized that version of himself. "What are you thinking about?" River asked, coming to stand beside him. "How much has changed? How far we've come? Any regrets?" Marcus thought about the question, about the fear and pain and impossible choices, about the moments he'd been sure they'd lose everything, about the nights he'd questioned whether he was doing the right thing. "Not one," he said finally. "Not a single regret." Sage joined them, Emma right behind her. They stood together on the porch of the farmhouse that had saved them all, looking out at the land they'd fought for and earned. "This is it," Emma said. "This is everything." "This is just the beginning," Sage corrected. "We've got years ahead of us. Decades if we're lucky." "Then let's make them count," River said. They went inside together, closing the door on the past and opening themselves to whatever came next. A family built from loss and choice and the stubborn refusal to give up. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth it. Everything they needed. Everything they'd fought for. Home.